How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to talk to you about some of the cryptos that I'm buying, some of the cryptos that I am selling, and also some that I'm just paying attention to because they've had some big news and they've been making big movements. Some of them I am holding. So if you guys don't mind, hit the like button, subscribe button. I appreciate that. We're going to cover a lot in this video. I want to give you a little bit of information on what's happening right now in the market, some disclaimers, and then talk about all those different cryptos. We're going to cover about 10 of them. But of course, know that my goals aren't your goals. So what I'm doing might not be right for you, right? We're all in different financial situations. Also, I do want to give the disclaimer that I don't know what's going to happen, right? I don't know what's going to happen next week, next month. So this is just my opinions. And, we are going to cover some of the big news from some of these different cryptos here today. So I would suggest staying through to the end. So hit the like, subscribe button, really helps out the channel. Also, there's a link underneath the video to ftx.us. Definitely check it out. They're one of the easiest to use platforms out there, and they're some of the cheapest transaction fees out there. So I would highly suggest it. They also give you free crypto when you make trades over $10. Also, they are expanding and growing quite quickly. So if you want to be part of an app that's really innovative and they're going to offer you more and more different opportunities, definitely check it out because they do have new gaming heads coming to their company. They also are proposing new derivative margining systems that haven't been seen on other apps. So be at the forefront of innovation, be some of the first clients to be able to take advantage of some of these innovations. Now, the whole cryptocurrency market is down just a little bit here today. Not down too much. We were actually looking a little bit better earlier in the stock market and in crypto, but this has kind of changed. So we had heard that there were going to be positive developments around the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, but this kind of changed. We can't really trust what's coming out of Putin's mouth. And then Biden called to suspend normal trade relations with Russia very soon after that. We also have different banks that are now unwinding their business in Russia, such as Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. So this is just my opinion, but if something was going to change in Russia really soon, I would think that these companies would know better than us, and they wouldn't go unwind their business just a few days before. So I think they know something that we don't, which is that this conflict is going to go on for a while. So I think that, we are facing uncertain times. We don't know what's going to happen in the next month, but a lot of people think this will be quite drawn out. At the same time, all this is happening, all this uncertainty is happening. The Senate just approved a $1.5 trillion package really quietly, I might add. It didn't seem like this really made too many waves, but half of this is going to the non-defense agencies, and then half is going to national defense, and $14 billion is going to help Ukraine. So this is a huge amount of money, just showing that we are going to continue to inflate the dollar between the 7.9% inflation rate that we already saw, continuous stimulus. We do have some quantitative tightening, but they really can't shock the markets because of all the uncertainty. And because there are certain aspects of the economy that are just getting so expensive, like gas and oil, a lot of people don't want to see more and more uncertainty and see a coming recession when all this is happening at the same time. So this is pretty uncertain times that we're in. So I understand why some people would be sitting on the sidelines or just sitting in cash. A lot of people are doing that, but I am buying certain projects. First of all, I'm buying Bitcoin. In these uncertain times, I think Bitcoin is probably the best thing to buy and just add to your stacks. If you think that the market's going to turn around quickly, then you can buy some of these other altcoins and they'll probably do better. But if we fall down further, Bitcoin will fall less. If we go up, Bitcoin will lead. So it's kind of a safer bet. And a lot of people are really just watching Bitcoin at this point. So I am actively adding to Bitcoin several times a week. So Bitcoin, my number one holding, gonna continue to add there. Another cryptocurrency that I added recently to is Terra. So Terra is an interesting one. They're up 60% on the last 30 days. There aren't many other cryptos that are up in the last 30 days, just a few in the top 100. And Terra is doing this because of the mechanism between Terra and their stablecoin, UST. So Terra has been able to continuously rise in price, even though they are down about 10%. And they've been able to hit all-time highs recently because when you want to mint UST, you have to burn Terra, decreasing the supply of Terra, and then increasing the price because there is less of it outstanding or less of it being circulated. So that pushes up Terra's price, and a lot of people are wanting to buy UST or to get UST to stake over an Anchor or to deposit an Anchor to get that 19.5% yield. It's quite attractive. And part of the reason that they feel confident about this and the reason that they're adding to this is because of what Luna has done, including what they've done just today. So Luna Foundation Guard, or LFG, raises $1 billion to form Bitcoin reserve for UST stablecoin. This is just a few weeks ago we got this news. Since then, they added $418 million to its reserve, and they've been able to add that in Bitcoin. So they've been buying Bitcoin to add to their reserves for UST. So a lot of people were worried about the mechanism that keeps UST pegged at $1, but now that they're seeing that there are some reserves, there's less of a risk of that. We also got news from Do Kwon today that they have donated an additional 12 million Luna to LFG. So these will be burned to mint UST and therefore used to grow LFG's reserves. At the current prices, this reflects another $1.2 billion incoming to UST reserves. Now, I don't personally know where this money is going. I don't know. What it sounds like here is that they're just going to keep the UST as reserves. But some people are speculating, even Will Clemente is speculating that they're going to use this to buy Bitcoin. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but you can see that they are trying to grow their reserves and make people want to use UST even more, and that's quite attractive when there is a huge yield on Anchor Protocol. Do Kwon even says, if there's any confusion left at this point, we will continue growing reserves until it becomes mathematically impossible for idiots to claim depeg risk for UST. UST is mighty. So they have been growing. UST has been growing. So I'm going to include UST into this crypto list. That's why I have a good amount of money over on Anchor Protocol, because the peg risk becomes less and less important as we get more and more reserves. And they do have about $446 million worth of UST in the yield reserve. So if the protocol can't make enough money just from people borrowing and also from the yield on some of these bonded assets, or the collateral assets, then they will just take from this yield reserve. So by my calculations, should last us for 6 months to a year based on this yield reserve. So if you want some nice interest, you can get it right now. Now, Do Kwon just put this $500 million in here. So we might see that in the future, we might not. They might have to bring down the yield a little bit. So these are two cryptos I'm looking at. Of course, I don't like to chase cryptos when they're up so much, especially in a down market. But Terra is interesting because of the mechanism that pushes it up. So when we see a bull market, it probably will continue to rise because everything else is rising. But also when there's a bear market, more people want stablecoin, which therefore pushes it up in price. And it's an interesting mechanism for sure. And with their constant backing, I think it is looking really good for Terra. The other crypto that I've been adding to in small amounts is Solana. So Solana has gone down several times in the past. It's led to some people worrying about Solana, but they are fairly new and they are one of the cheapest and fastest options. So I'm adding slight amounts of Solana, but not anything really heavy, just because we constantly see it falling off. So until the market started to turn around, I'll probably be cautious about adding to some of these other altcoins, because of the fact that, just like I said before, Bitcoin is going to raise up first. And if we fall down, Bitcoin won't fall down as much. So I am adding slightly just to continue to add a little bit to my Solana stack. Now, going back to Bitcoin, it is going to be interesting to see what happens over the coming days, over the coming weeks. Will Clemente says, so we've seen over $1 billion incoming from stablecoin and $500 million coming from the El Salvador Bitcoin bonds in the next month into a relatively illiquid period. And no one is front running. Are we going to see this? Are we going to pump this Ponzi or what, ladies and gentlemen? So he's kind of being sarcastic here, but I think it is interesting because, first of all, I don't know if we know if they're going to use this stable coin that they just raised to buy Bitcoin, but that's what they've been doing in the past over for Luna. And then we do have that 500 million coming from the Bitcoin bonds. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. So another crypto to watch is Phantom. Phantom has been going down pretty consistently. If we look here, it's down to 40th on this list, and it's down 45% over the last 30 days. This crypto is one that I have been holding on to. I am looking at adding more if we start turning in the market, but right now it is kind of catching a falling knife after their lead developer left just in the last week. But Phantom, I think, is pretty undervalued at a $3 billion market cap. It has a total value lock that is quite high, so I will continue to watch it, see if there's any good buying in points. But I think that one is interesting to watch because it has sold off so much recently after it was relatively strong. Also, Cadena is one that I've been watching. I don't really like it, and I've done a full video on why I don't like it. I know certain YouTubers have talked about it, and certain people have been buying it pretty heavily. It has been pumping up, though, over the last day. It's up 12% on the last 24 hours when the rest of the market was bleeding a little bit. And now why is that? It's because they are actually coming to Binance. They're going to be listed on Binance. So I've been watching this, pretty interesting, but I just don't like it because of the fact that it's quite inflationary. And in a down market, that can really hurt you when something is so inflationary and people aren't buying it. So Cadena has been trading off pretty heavily over the last couple months, but is up a little bit right now. Another one that I'm watching is Stacks. So Stacks isn't a crypto that I've ever bought into, but they also are up a pretty decent amount recently, up 20% on the last 7 days, but they have sold off about 21% on the last 24 hours. And the reason that they got pushed up in the first place was because OKCoin and Stacks launched a $165 million pledge to support Bitcoin-related projects. So they got in the news. This is going to help accelerate Bitcoin's adoption. I'm not buying Stacks, but I do find it interesting what they are doing. And then we also have Polygon. Polygon's another one that I am holding, but I'm not buying actively right now. I have added a little bit over the last couple months, but I'm not adding super heavily at the time of this recording. Now, Polygon had some pretty bad news. They suffered a extended service outage after upgrade. Now, they said that this was most likely due to a bug in the upgrade which affected consensus and caused different Hemdall validators to be on different versions of the chain, thereby not reaching 2/3 consensus. They were out for 11 hours. Now, what's interesting about this is they actually didn't fall down in price because of this, right? They're down, or they're actually slightly up over the last 24 hours, and this just happened yesterday. So they've actually held up really well with this news of an 11-hour outage. So Polygon is one that I really like. I suppose I have been adding slight amounts over the last couple weeks, like I said, but it's not one that I'm trying to go really heavily in just because of the state of the market right now. Also, one that I have actually sold recently is Ethereum. So Ethereum, I sold a small amount to move into Solana, and part of that is just because Ethereum's at an interesting place. Long term, I know that I've talked about it several times, that it's one of the assets that I've been buying into, but recently I changed my thinking a little bit on it. And part of that is just because, hey, first of all, we have Ethereum 2.0 coming up. If it gets pushed back, that's a negative, right? Everyone's going to be pissed off that it gets pushed back and that we're not moving over to proof of stake. Even after it moves, it still needs to work on being able to scale better because it's not going to bring in that many more transactions a second. It is going to move over to proof of stake, though, supposedly in 3 months. But if that gets pushed back, a lot of people will be pissed off. They've already pushed it back a handful of times. Ethereum gas fees right now are dropping. NFTs seem to be dead. Certain articles are saying that. And we've seen Ethereum fees as low as a couple dollars. I just did a transaction for a few dollars, which in some people's mind is great. Like, I like not having to pay that Ethereum fee, but you can see that it's not being used that much. That means that the burn mechanism also isn't working that much. Now, it is still one of the investable assets that large institutions will invest in. But in the short term, like I said, if Ethereum 2.0 gets pushed back, that's not good. Also, if it happens on time, you have to remember there's a significant amount of Ethereum that is locked up right now. 8.26% of Ethereum is locked up, which is about $25 billion, even though we're down in price right now. So if a bunch of Ethereum becomes unstaked, and a lot of people want to take profits because maybe they didn't realize right at the beginning that you had to lock it up and you couldn't touch it, then we could see some selling pressure, right? A lot of people bought in at $100, $200, maybe even less than that. So they might want to take their 20x profit, assuming Ethereum 2.0 actually goes through. So we could see some selling pressure once this happens. Now, of course, I like Ethereum as a layer 1 after all this happens. But in the short term, I see this as a negative, kind of a lose-lose situation. If they go through with Ethereum 2.0, a lot of Ethereum is going to be unstaked. And if they don't go through with Ethereum 2.0, it gets pushed back. Some people will still be pissed off and sell that because of the fact that they're not upgrading in time. And then one other crypto that I've talked about recently, Cardano. Cardano is another one that I've sold a pretty significant amount of recently. And part of it is because of the fact that there are just better layer ones out there, I think, especially for the market cap. Cardano is still in the top 5 or 6 cryptos when you take out stablecoins. And they haven't really been able to compete with a lot of the other layer ones, right, in terms of total value locked, in terms of activity. Now, some people love Cardano, and some people just will always hold it. And I feel like I just am seeing what's happening in the market, and I don't think it provides as good a value as some other cryptocurrencies. There's also some controversy over Cardano because of Charles Hoskinson reportedly not even finishing his undergrad when he said that he was actually going for a PhD and didn't finish it. Now, he just made a video yesterday saying that he did, in fact, graduate his undergrad. He just didn't finish his PhD in mathematics. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. He's saying, hey, I'm not lying. Other people are showing, hey, we talked to the colleges and they said that you didn't graduate. So I don't know where this is going to go from here. Maybe people are trying to, put him out as a bad person or as a liar, and he's actually not faking what he's done. Maybe there's just some miscommunication or loss of records or something like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out in the end. What he said yesterday was that Cardano itself is bigger than Charles Hoskinson, and that's why we invest into these decentralized assets. However, I think when you are as active in the ecosystem as Charles, and as many people have bought Cardano just because they like Charles, right? They trust Charles and they think he's a smart guy. I think there is some correlation between what Charles does and what the price action of Cardano does as well. Now, let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. To be clear, I've been buying Solana a little bit, Terra a little bit. I've been buying Bitcoin more heavily. I've also been accumulating some UST. I've been watching Phantom. I've been watching Stacks. I've been watching Cadena. Now that I'm interested in Cadena, I've also been watching Polygon. I have added a slight amount of Polygon over the last, couple weeks or couple months, just a small amount. I've been selling Ethereum and then also selling Cardano. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. What are you guys buying? What are you selling? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.